Hi, this is Majanoni. Here's my comic reviews for December 7th. Some of these I'm gonna do kind of longer, and some will be kind of shorter because I'm gonna try to do most of these. We'll start off with Champions number 3. Basically, the team is like looking for something to do, so they see some hashtags, some reports going on that hey, there's some problems in the Middle East, and there's some women who are going to be, basically in trouble. So they decide to save them. Now, the problem I have with these types of stories is, it's one thing to, it's not the subject matter necessarily, but it's the crossing of the borders. It's like they rarely take that into consideration that, once the heroes cross the border to do something, it causes a bigger issue. Now, they do mention it briefly, but it's one of those things that I think the storyline will probably take a couple issues and then, go to something else. Because the way the Champions is set up, it's not set up to be this international incident type book, like something like the Avengers or the Justice League would do. So I kind of hate when they do that. And with this one, I have to admit it does seem to be more of a, hey guys, just to let you know there's a situation that's really going on where how women are mistreated, and we want you to know about it. And, technically these women are strong enough to do it, to save themselves, but it helps to have a superhero backing them up just a little bit type thing. Now, other than that, I mean, it's a decently written book. The art's fine. And other than the fact that to me it seems kind of like more of a current events book rather than a title where you just kind of want to sit down and enjoy, just because it takes you away from current events. But overall I'm still happy with it, and we'll see where this book really develops from there. Nova number 1. I'm not really going to go much into it. This pretty much, I don't know why they keep rebooting this book. It doesn't deserve to be rebooted. It just basically is continuing the story. The only difference is they added a rich writer to the mix. No significant changes to warrant a new number 1 type thing, which is utterly stupid. But it's decent. It's average. Art's okay. Nothing is gonna be like totally earth-shattering, or it's not gonna break sales records or anything like that. And it's also not gonna attract new readers, other than fans of Richard Rider who've ignored this book might start sniffing around because their hero is back. Aquaman number 12. All right, this was kind of curious because again, it's Atlantis attacking the surface world, but it's not really Atlantis. It's Black Manta, and he's up to some shenanigans pretending to be Atlantis, and I'm just done with this book. I'm done. I read this story already in the New 52. Atlantis attacked. Atlantis caused tidal waves. Atlantis caused massive death, giant monsters, blah 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 blah. Arthur was going, no, we don't want this war. Justice League comes down. Arthur, what are you doing? You had your last chance. Come clean. We're gonna haul you away. Same thing. Surface world's being attacked. Many people are getting killed. Arthur's going, hey, no fighting. Time out, no fighting. And the Justice League comes saying, you had your chance. Come with us. This is so effing stupid. I mean, it's like, really? You had no other original idea but copy something from the New 52. Unbelievable. And now, granted, I understand the cause of the war is different, but it's the same thing. It's a war between the surface world and Atlantis, and it's just like, please, come up with something better. You get paid for it. Superman. As you can see, there's a Frankenstein monster. He's from Shade, and he's trying to kill some woman who he claims is not who she appears to be. Lois doesn't believe that because Lois believes everything at face value, and they start to get away. Superman comes in. Decent fight. Nothing wow, but it's okay. It is probably the best that DC can do. in the page confinements. Story's decent. Looking forward to seeing issue number 2. I thought the book was still entertaining, and still much far superior Superman than what New 52 was doing. So that's a very good thing. All right, Justice League number 10. Justice League arrives at somebody's house. You say basically, you are causing a problem. You have released malicious code, and that malicious code is attacking us. So you are coming with us. And the guy's like, "What are you talking about? Come into the house. We must discuss. Coffee, energy drinks." And so there's the Justice League sitting around the kitchen. Flash drinking some energy drinks, coffee, and he explains the story. And apparently what happened was his daughter created some coding. And it's in response to her mother being killed. And it wasn't intended to be malicious, but the son gets a hold of it and he thinks it's a game. And the next thing you know, he's fighting the Justice League without really realizing what's going on, type thing. It's okay. It's nothing the greatest. But, I will admit, though, this thing did have this one panel, which just was so amusing. Because basically what happens is the next chapter was like this thing called like supervillains, where it basically was going to pay supervillains billions of dollars to defeat the Justice League type thing. And I thought this panel here with this kid with that expression of, "Oh my God," was just hilarious. I mean, I know it may be not hilarious to you, but I mean, it just reminded me of some really crappy Godzilla type movies, where a comic where there's always somebody with their hands over their ears screaming, "Oh my God." And it was like, oh, there it is right there. It's like a flashback. Okay, Batman 12. Okay, this is a different book. What we're really looking at here is Batman is basically wrote a letter to Catwoman type thing. And before I go into the letter, I'm going to say this. The art is just simply fantastic. It's basically Batman going from point A to point Z, and he's fighting a bunch of people. So there's big panels, and the panels there's big fight type scenes, and at moment some art's just okay, but I think as a whole, the art is just fantastic. I mean, I'm trying not to show too much, but the panel placement, the way the story, the way the panels flow, this book they've done a fantastic job at visually telling the story. Now, when you go into the story, like I mentioned earlier, it's a letter Batman to Catwoman. Part of this letter is not really. It's basically telling his origin, and he's talking about the night his parents died, and how his parents would look at him as Batman, and how there's something. I don't really want to spoil too much, but there is something very relevant to the title of this issue here, which isn't on the cover. Okay, there is a very, very relevant part of the name of this chapter part, and the Bruce Wayne storyline and going into Batman. And I think in some ways I think it's going to be kind of controversial, because it does radically change the motivation, in a sense, of Bruce choosing to be Batman. Because remember, in the past it was, Bruce is lost in the cave, and then he sees the bats, and then I'm Batman type thing. Well, this kind of changes that. And I think, some people are going to have issues with it. I'm kind of torn with it. Because on one hand, I think it could be looked at as a more realistic approach to, like, a realization of, like, hey, this, like, for an example, there's a life-changing moment, and you can either do A or B, and he chooses B only because of that path he took, type thing. So I think it's an interesting moment, but I also think it's going to be very controversial. I think there's going to be a lot of purists who are going to throw their hands up in the air and scream. But one thing I will say is I'm looking forward to a time when these writers tamper with these origins so much that every minute of the day is accounted for and they can't tamper anymore. Unless of course they just reboot it, which they do quite often anyways. But I'm just looking for a day where we get the full story and not, oh wait a second, there's a little piece missing type thing that significantly changes everything. But otherwise, I thought the book was good. The Mighty Thor. I'm sorry, the Unworthy Thor. Well, the art is fantastic. Asgard has been kidnapped, taken, stolen. Thor has been stolen, kidnapped, taken away. We learn who has done such a dastardly deed, and we learn why this deed has occurred. Some people, some purists, will be very angry because they're changing a character to match the cinematic universe. Others are just going to go, who cares? I never knew the old blank anyways. But I'm kind of torn again on this one because I knew the character beforehand. I think the newer version kind of makes a little bit more sense in the modern take. But I don't know. I think the book was good, so I won't complain too much. Finally, Dead No More Clone Conspiracy 3. Well, there's lots and lots to talk about, but I don't want to because a lot of it's spoiler. I know a lot of the spoilage is probably online now. Basically, we learn the true identity of the Jackal. That is not who you think it is. You learn his fiendish plan to get Peter to work with him. Or is that a him? Maybe that's a woman even. I think the art is good, but I think when you look at the amount of villains who have come back from the dead, it's kind of comical now because they really are pulling every single villain that has been killed in Spider-Man, and some of these characters just look kind of comical now, and I don't know. I'm really torn with it because I like the idea of the life-death thing, and I can see where this is going, where everybody's coming back to life again. Even though that they need the pills to survive, I think there's going to find a way to cure everybody, or else they're going to find a way to mass-produce the pills, so this way they won't be without. But I do not like the direction that this is going. I think there are universal laws that cannot be broken. And we have already broken two. The universal law of Bucky does not come back from the dead. And the second universal law was Jason Todd does not come back from the dead. And we have broken both of those laws. We do not know what will happen if the very first universal law gets broken, which is Uncle Ben coming back from the dead. It is possible that the apocalypse might happen. We might enter a state of World War III, or we could be attacked by aliens, or even a dimensional barrier door opens up and we are devoured by Cthulhu. And any one of those things could be possible if Uncle Ben comes back. So I would like to suggest a keep Ben dead hashtag to prevent that from ever occurring. Was the book good? It's okay. I think in this case, what I'm discovering so far is I think it's, for me, it's difficult to go, hey, this is a great book, because I'm really conflicted with a lot of things that I'm seeing, and I would rather see it as the final product. After it's all said and done, read them all over again, and I think, for me at least, I think the flow will be a lot better. So anyways, don't forget, hashtag keep Ben dead. Like and share. Let me know what you guys are reading the most, what you liked, what you didn't like. We'll have more stuff later. So until next time.